Hi guys, I thought this would be a little bit more helpful than just typing out my comments. So I'm looking at your graphic. It looks really great. Just a few technicalities that I would want you to take a look at and fix. And so I'm looking at your assignment and you are focusing on adolescence. So this is really great, but remember your audience. So we have to turn it into more of a adolescent type speak versus a research speak. Again, your presentation and your infographic should be intended to be viewed by your audience, not your instructor. So a couple of things, and some of these are little technical things. Whenever there's a heading, you don't want to include a period at the end of a sentence or the heading. So I would remove that period. The statistic over here on the left-hand side, 42.4% of adults are prevalent in obesity, and that really doesn't make sense. So what I want you to think about when you're creating this is, what would a teenager want to see? Do they care that 42.4% of adults have obesity? Maybe, but not as much as the second graphic, where 19.3% of children and adolescents are at risk. So that is more of a terminology that I would rather you use. Some of these graphics are good, but they might be offensive. So make sure that you are looking at the graphics clearly, and hopefully not anyone is going to be offended by them. This title here, what is obesity? That's great, but the look of how this is laid out, excuse me, with the word from on its own line, it just doesn't look right. So abundant growth in fat tissue, usually from an increased consumption of food. Again, that's not really adolescent talk. So how could you reword that a little bit better? And also so that it's not so scary and scare tactic-y. That's a technical term there. So you do say who is affected. That's good. Adults are affected, but it can start at a young age. I would, again, try to do a little bit more sensitive discussion and adolescent speak. Maybe put this in bullet points or come up with a little bit of a better way to say that. I do like the signs and symptoms. You don't necessarily have to have a signs and symptoms here for overweight or obesity, but I do think it's good that you included, intolerance to heat, depression, joint pain. But are these all true of adolescents? Yes, they are very true of adults. So something to think about. And what I've noticed here is throughout the first section, there's no referencing. You do have your sources on the last page, which is great, but you haven't connected those sources. So where are they coming from? So for example, if you say who is affected, you're going to want to put a little asterisk, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. You're going to want to put the superscript or subscript, excuse me, up on the top. So it's a little number that is raised up on the top. The superscript would be the higher, the subscript would be lower, or vice versa. I can't remember at the moment, so forgive me. But think of a research paper and how you would reference in a research paper, whether that number is a little number at the top here at the end of your statement, or it's in parentheses. So some of the graphic formulations will allow you to do one or the other. So make sure that you go back and do that. Other possible reasons. And so maybe be a little bit more clear on this. I know you know what this means, but if someone is looking at the backside of your infographic for the first time, other possible reasons for what? And I want you to be sensitive. You can say overweight and obese. You can just simply use the term overweight. So obesity has a really negative connotation in this community, in this country. So think about the sensitive nature of that as well. I do like that you put about 9 hours a day using digital technology. But if you can condense this a little bit, instead of a giant sentence, maybe whittle it down a little bit. And then again, the same comment, how to prevent and treat it. It again seems like you are diagnosing somebody with something that's, and this is not necessarily the greatest thing to be experiencing, but how to prevent and maybe deal with overweight or obesity, but how to prevent overweight or obesity, I think is totally fine. I like your recommendations here with diet, limit screen time, exercise. But from a technical standpoint, your content in this section is very good, but try not to have one word on a separate line. It just doesn't catch the eye and it almost looks a little messy. So if you can fix that, this section looks really good. Or you can widen the how to prevent overweight to expand a little bit and take out some of the extra graphics that you have under other possible reasons. So those are my comments. I'm going to open up the submission box again for you, and really just about everyone else is going to need to resubmit. And I'll have that open for you until Friday at 11:59 p.m. So if you all could make those changes and resubmit on Cougar Courses, I will add that Dropbox for you. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks, everybody. Good job and happy fixing. Bye.